Alison and her husband Jeff are self-declared hipsters. I met the young couple while they were living in a cute little character home sandwiched between apartment buildings in downtown Edmonton. Alison began researching and studying how to sustainably grow food in our climate, envisioned living in the country and homesteading. She and Jeff knew they wanted to be surrounded by woods. They required fertile land, space to garden, and grow food. They found an acreage just outside of Tofield that fit the bill. In 2018, the couple started off by digging garden beds, then constructed a greenhouse and added 2 chicken coops. In 2021, the birth of their daughter renewed their energy and determination to help others eat healthy, organic, and highly nutritious food. Marigold Meadows expanded their reach and community and formed their CSA farm business. Alison, thank you so much for having me. We're at one of my most favorite places. I haven't traveled the world a whole lot, but one of my most favorite places in Alberta, Marigold Meadows.
Oh,
it's something your magic has created.
Trying to.
Yeah. And so I always find it so interesting because you and your husband, you're so young, and you lived right downtown Edmonton, and we're right in the music scene.
Oh yeah, going out every night.
Yes.
Doing the young person thing and living in the city.
Yes. And then there was just this switch. Do you want to tell me about that?
The switch?
Yeah.
Why the switch happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it started. We were house sitting for a friend, and we fell in love with just being in the country. And I had grown up in the city. Jeff grew up in the country, but I didn't realize how much we missed it. And we found that we were just going to the mountains all the time and just trying to get out and be in nature and just kind of be away from the city. And so then at the time actually came that we were deciding if we were going to move back home or stay. And then
back home is
Ontario. And then we made the decision to move out here. And my husband found this spot, and we love this spot specifically because most of the acreage is woods, and that's what we wanted. We didn't want just an open slate, just grass and no trees. We wanted a mature woods that we could cut trails into, that when we have a little one they can explore in the woods, and that's our oasis. And in the winter time and in the fall, when it's not all buggy and stuff in there, after dinner our ritual is just to go for an after dinner walk, and that's part of our whole thing. And that's what we were doing in the city, was trying to get out. And now every day we're out in the woods.
Homesteading and country living is often portrayed as something pretty, peaceful, and picture perfect. What I particularly loved about interviewing Alison was she wore her work clothes because she had just finished her morning chores. She put on a pair of sunglasses to make it through our conversation while battling stuffy sinuses and watery eyes. Alison has come to realize that she is allergic to just about everything to do with homesteading and loves it still. When the rain has filled all the water barrels, the sun comes out to shine, the garden is growing, and the chickens are happily clucking, life is peaceful. When the skies grow dark and the breeze turns into a cold wind, things can be nerve-wracking. Farmers pray to the sky and ask for the hard, cold rain to blow over before it turns to hail. An entire growing season can be devastated by hail in one swoop. Marigold Meadows knows this firsthand. There is a tendency with you to be like, what if?
I know, I do a lot of what ifs. Yeah,
and
I
the
just
what
kind of
ifs
go
usually
for
turn
it.
into
Into something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you just have to try. You don't know until you try to do something if you're going to be able to do it or not.
To get things done, you actually have to do it. You have to jump. So you did jump and you landed.
It was a big decision, to try and do this. Yeah.
And then it was like,
I mean, I'm not an expert veggie gardener. You know, there are people that we know that are really, really good at growing veggies, and I'm learning how to grow in this microclimate, which can be challenging from year to year. Like, you never know. Last year, like, you came and it was beautiful, and then literally the next day it hailed and it destroyed everything.
Yeah.
It looked like Edward Scissorhands was here, just like choppy, took a scissors or weed whacker to everything, and it was toast.
Yes.
But you caught it
I caught it.
a beautiful moment before it was destroyed, which is good, but it's also heartbreaking because then, you know.
Like, we have all those photographs.
Oh, it was
and
so
that
beautiful.
Conversation,
I
and
know.
it was like blue skies,
It was so pretty.
blossoms
Yeah.
absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, the cut flowers were looking lovely. Everything was looking so good, and then it just got trashed in, what was it, 20 minutes? And Jeff just had to get all the chickens in and the dogs in June, and it was like, what is happening so fast? And then it was all gone. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that there's so many people around me here that have been gardening in this area for a lot longer than I have, and it's smart to listen and to ask questions. Yeah. And it's okay to ask for help.
Yes.
And our neighbors, they've lived here. They've lived here 25 years, and they've seen everything. They've seen tornado warnings, they've seen hail, and I was always curious why all of her stuff was covered every single year. Like, why is everything covered? Yeah. She says, you don't know if hail's gonna come. And lo and behold, hail got us last year, and it was awful. Yeah.
Alison and Jeff run a CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture. Before the season starts, people from the local community purchase a share or invest in this year's harvest. The prepayment takes care of the startup funds for the farmer, such as seeds and growing materials. The consumer is taking on the risk with the farmer. There is an understanding that weather, pests, or unforeseen growing issues may occur. If one vegetable is sad, more of a successful crop will replace it. The CSA system helps local farmers create viable businesses. Customers receive affordable, fresh, and organic food. Supporting local growers helps the economy and helps the environment by cutting back on packaging and transport. I know when we speak a lot about gardening, and what I find really beautiful about yourself and what you've created here is that you always say, I want to provide healthy food for the people.
Yes.
So, and you provide food through a CSA, it's called. And do you mind just telling me a little bit about what a CSA is?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So a CSA is the short form or the acronym for Community Supported Agriculture. Okay. So it's basically part of the share that you know, or what you're doing is buying into somebody or a family or a farm, and you are going to either get a lot or a little, but you're buying a share of whatever is harvested from that garden for a set number of weeks or anything like that. Okay. But basically, people are taking on the risks with you. Okay. So we're not just growing for a market, but everyone that signs up for the CSA is assuming all risks with us. And we will do our very best to grow the best yields and to get great yields and to cover everything so we can avoid things like hail. Yep. And avoid, some pests if you can, through cloth or just companion planting and things like that. But it's everyone is taking on the risk together. So it's not just a one person, and everyone gets a share, which is a great part, and not too much work involved on their end. They're contributing a fee, and then that allows us to buy seed, to buy to pay for greenhouse bills for starting things in the winter time, and delivery, things like that. So everyone's buying. They're buying into us, is what it is.
And then they're learning as well, right? Because as a community, they have to understand that things are changing. So
they are,
you're not just going to the grocery store where there's always beets or always cucumbers and things.
And that's it too, you're eating seasonally as well, and you're eating probably a lot of different vegetables that you wouldn't normally find, and different varieties that you wouldn't find in the store either. So it's just a little bit more unique, but it's more grounded to what's actually in season. Yeah. And it's picked really fresh. Like, we pick the morning of deliveries. So your food is only maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours old. And so it tastes, and people say they taste the difference of something that's picked an hour versus something that's picked and then shipped and then put into a store, and then you get it a week later. Yeah. And the nutrition is higher. It's just that's one of those facts that the fresher it is, the more nutritional content there is, and if you're eating healthier, then you're going to feel better. Yeah.
Well, even because the eggs, so the chickens, their eggs, like, they're being fed
the greenery and things from the garden, right?
Yeah.
Like not a single thing goes to
nothing
waste.
goes to waste.
Yeah.
Bolted lettuce goes to them. Weeds that haven't gone to seed go to them. They get herbs. They get basically anything. If I need to clear space for something and it's edible for them, then they're going to get it. And they get heaps. Like I fill the wheelbarrow 2-3 times, then we just wheel it in, and they love it.
Yeah.
And it creates these lovely dark yolks. And we have two flocks. So I tend to give the ones that are laying eggs a little bit more, and these guys get the fun snacks. But they eat.
Yeah.
They eat what's here, and it's like a cycle, and then they produce their manure, which I then put back into the garden. And it's just this. I'm trying to close this loop so that everything that we're doing is just coming from here. So we use our own compost. I'll start saving seeds pretty soon here now that I have some varieties that I really like, because I've been experimenting a little bit.
Yep.
Marigolds are usually viewed as granny flowers, but grannies, no. Marigolds are super granny flowers with many superpowers. They ward off certain animals and pests, attract pollinators, are easy to propagate from seed and grow, are edible, and most blooms are unique shades of orange. I love the color orange and the ruffly pom-poms. Alison learned all about marigolds from her gran and her mom, who were both avid gardeners.
Look at.
They're beautiful.
They're so beautiful.
There's such a lovely ruffle, right? And a lot of people think of them as just being sort of this old-fashioned granny flower. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I find that a compliment.
I love them. Mm-hmm. And we named our little homestead after these, and not only because they like my mom used them in her garden, but they also are so integral to our pest management and attracting pollinators, and they do some work in the garden, so they're working for us as well as looking beautiful. I planted 3 different kinds, all from seed, and I saved the seed from the marigolds because one plant will give you enough seed for many years, and we share those seeds with people too, so people can also plant them in their veggie gardens. This is a giant marigold, so it's supposed to be used as a cut flower, but I just think it's way too pretty, and the bees love it. And over here, I don't know if you can see that really bushy one.
Yeah.
That one's called Orange Gem, and it is very fragrant. Yeah. And I planted it, and a little bit of companion planting too. I planted it right next to my curly kale. And it's supposed to help deter cabbage moth, which I'm always experimenting, because science is my background, so I'm always trying things out, this and that, this compared to that, and that planted with oregano around those plants, I haven't had any issues on the curly kale with cabbage moth.
Oh wow.
Which is amazing. Not only above ground are they working, but their roots are always working too, and that's really important when you're talking about your whole sort of your ecosystem in your garden, is that it's full of microbes and living things, so you have to work with it. And you don't have to spray anything. You can just plant the right plants together and try it out that way and see how it works. But these things, especially planted near like squash or things that have flower, like tomatoes, squash, those kinds of things, you need to have plants that will attract them, and then you'll get more pollination on your fruiting plants. So it's very
symbiotic.
It is, It's kind of involved in everything. Every sort of aspect of different kinds of crops that we use, like for the kales and cabbages and things like that, and for the plants that need pollinators. And then the petals are really good in the chicken nesting boxes to help deter pests, and they can eat them, and we can eat them. They can be used as a salad flower. They last a long time in a vase. Like they have so many useful things.
Homesteading has a way of bonding farmers to nature, the land, and their animals. Alison rises with the sun to feed her chickens, works all day in the greenhouse and garden. Sometimes she doesn't stop until it is well past sunset. Working outdoors all day in the fresh air and warm sun often makes for an early and deep night's rest. Chickens will stir when there is about to be a change in weather. Alison knows to check the weather radar or look up when the chickens are acting funny. Not only are her chickens weather forecasters, but they are an essential part of the homestead. Beyond producing farm-fresh organic eggs, they are the spring grub cleanup crew, veggie debris eaters, and organic fertilizer makers.
So Alison, you and Jeff lived right downtown. You were a young, hip couple right in the center of Edmonton. And then you chose to come way out here.
I know.
To Tofield.
Yeah, I know. And we didn't even know we didn't even know what was out here.
Yeah. Apparently it's got the clearest skies.
Oh yes, that's already
ever.
started. Yeah, that happens in fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just walk out and you can sit and just watch the stars.
Yeah.
And the northern lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful.
And actually, you know what's really funny? So when I'm at home in Fort Saskatchewan and I see thunder clouds forming and heading east,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they're on their way to Ali's.
Watch
I'm
the
like,
radar,
it'll be
watch the
there in
radar.
45 minutes. They're
Yeah.
on their way to Tofield.
That's something I never thought I would be doing as much as
Yeah.
watching the radar as often. Like, and I'm watching the chickens. Like, they all went inside. I'm like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Okay, it's coming. And then you can go back outside when they come back outside. They'll tell you if the weather's
Yeah.
gonna get really crummy.
Yeah. So things have changed from looking at the posters and going to see
Oh,
what
yeah.
the next gig is
Yeah,
to
gosh.
now like watching the skies, the
the
radar,
chickens.
and the chickens. So the chickens are what make this a homestead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're raising them to have eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're a very important part of the whole thing. I mean, I talked about the marigolds and their work, but they do a lot of work as well. And if you just watch them, they're pecking, they're scratching. These ones won't be released into the big garden over there, but the other ones will. They listen better than these ones do. So at the end of the season, they'll go in and they'll scratch up and they'll eat any overwintering bugs and things like that, and eat all the leftovers and then carry on.
Yeah.
Alison is a down-to-earth person. When we talk about the mental wellness aspect of moving away from the city, reconnecting with nature, and growing your own food, there are definitely positives. The energy is different from the buzz of the city. It is more relaxing in some ways. However, there are stresses. Farming is a business with many learning curves. It is not always as easy as it looks.
You know, like everyone talks about gardening as being this beautiful experience, how it calms you down, it's relaxing. There's, some real wellness benefits to it.
There are,
Yes.
And I feel like there's definitely a time of year when that does exist. Like right now, I feel like it exists. But in the springtime, when you're kind of, you're up when the sun's up and you go down. Well, you go in the house when you can't see what your hands are doing anymore.
Yeah.
Because you have to get all your seedlings in the ground, or you got to get your seeds in the ground, because if you miss it by a couple of days, then your whole thing is thrown off, right?
Yeah.
Like your whole plan.
Yeah.
Your CSA may be over, and now the stuff that you wanted to get in is just ready now. And it's like, oh, well, I planned for that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work out according to plan.
Right. So when we're talking, like they always, there's always this, so city life, it's hustle, it's bustle, it's busy, and your brain doesn't have time to sort of calm down.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to move to the country where it's, a little bit quieter.
Nice. Yeah,
and
the birds.
Yeah. So do you feel like moving out here did make a difference in some ways in how it quieted your mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel, and we both feel this, is that it just feels like there's less friction. Like you can just, it's easier to just be, and you can think a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
That does wake you up in the morning, which is okay. That's it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But then it's the reality of actually running a business too. On the other side is that you still have to. It's work, and yes, it is beautiful, but sometimes it's still work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So rather than a car engine waking you up in the morning or a honk.
Yeah, it's right. We don't have sirens anymore. We have our lovely rooster, which is totally fine, and the occasional cow that will wander in. It's like, where did you come from? There's like really interesting things that happen.
Yeah. Your porcupine.
Oh, the porcupine! Don't get me started on the porcupine.
The woods surrounding Marigold Meadows provide shelter from the wind, amongst many other things. The woods are a playground for adults and children alike. Jeff cleared many winding trails that lead to fun destinations and clearings. June spends much of her time exploring the woods. In the summer, the canopy of leaves protects her from the sun and heat. In the fall, she admires the changing colors, and in the winter, it becomes a wonderland of discovery and play.
Ali, one of the most beautiful treasures about living out here is the woods, and you purchased this land because of the woods.
We did.
Yes.
Yep. That's why we chose it.
Yeah.
So it's just over 4 acres, and most of it is woods.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted. We
Yeah.
wanted to create our own sort of trail system and our own oasis.
Yeah.
And so we use it a lot more kind of in the shoulder seasons, because then it's actually easier to get around without getting eaten alive by mosquitoes or, stung by wasps and things like that. So that's okay, because we have other things to do in the summer, and then in the wintertime we can just be in here.
Yeah.
And there's lots. This was our first free project, and we had $0. We're like, we can cut trails.
Yes.
We can just manual labor, just start clearing logs, and I have to give kudos to Jeff, because he did most of the work, and just from scratch. He made the whole network of trails that's in here, and you can get lost for a little while and just wander around. Yeah. And it's nice because we can eat along the way. We find raspberries or high bush cranberry, even though they're a little bit bitter. Yeah. We can learn about different animals and teach June, and she knows so much about the things that grow in here already. Yeah. Just from learning about them and encountering them on a daily basis, I would say. Yeah.
And just having, well, because she forages, because even how she was eating like the baby spruce tips.
Oh yeah, she loves those.
Yeah.
She loves those spruce tips more than anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
She can't wait. She's like, I can't wait till next year when I can have more of those. Yeah. Okay. Good for you. Yeah. Yeah, and she just loves it.
And those are chock full of vitamins, right?
Yeah, and they're good after a long winter. They're high in vitamin C. But she just loves, I think kids just love being outside.
Yeah. Well, even as a child, so I grew up on a farm, and we had like a little swamp sort of area that was surrounded by willows and dogwood and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And we always went in there and played. And in the wintertime especially, like we'd burrow almost like creatures.
Yeah.
You know,
you just go play, right? You make this imaginary world in here. Yeah.
I would just like to say a huge thank you for taking me for a tour and always being so welcoming.
Oh, you're
to
welcome.
have here. This is one of my favorite places, as you know. I always feel like there's magic wound into here, and I can always feel the goodness.
What have you done now? What's the new thing?
Yeah, what's happening at Marigold Meadows? Yeah. There's always something happening.
Yeah.
So I always love coming and having a coffee and and something fresh baked or
something. Yeah, made this today. Okay.
Yeah. That's really good. So yeah, thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
I'm very full. Full on life.
That's great.
Okay.
Me too.
Aw.
Making the change from inner city living to rural country life seems like a dramatic one. However, Alison and Jeff have always been drawn to exploring nature and gardening. Moving from the city left behind some conveniences, but the pair of hipsters are now where their hearts want them to be, looking up to the sky, hands in the earth, and surrounded by trees. Jeff has a band room in the basement. Allie tends to her houseplants and continues to study. Little Junebug is always by her parents' side, playing in the woods, watching the sky, planting seeds, tending to the gardens, and learning to share and give. In the upcoming and final episode of this season's Garden Stories, it is with great joy that I introduce you to Wayne and Judy Kelly, as well as Dolly the duck. We head north of St. Albert to the Kelly's hobby farm located in Sturgeon County, Alberta. Dolly the duck and her feathered friends live in the Duck Palace. The palace is interiorly styled with vintage finds, and the ladies all sleep in plush beds of oat straw. Nothing but the best for these special birds. Dolly and Betty are therapy ducks that visit the local elementary schools and senior facilities, spreading happiness and wellness. It was quite special to experience cuddling a duck. Wayne and Judy's yard is a playground. The Kellys have been happily married for 51 years. Side by side, the pair do the chores, build small barns, create folk art, and play like children. Their zest for life is extra zingy.